Yo, what's going on, world? What's going on, Facebook? Everybody catching us live right now. We're broadcasting from our page through WLVS Radio, so make sure you're checking us out. Everyone watching this Listen Vision live, or those who might just catching this video late because you watch it on YouTube, it's all good. How you doing? It's your boy, Jay DeCosta.
It's your girl, Katniss.
And together we are
the Nitty Gritty.
The one and only Tay Jordan is out there in Boston right now holding it down.
Yep.
Getting her work on, you know. So she's been real busy out here. Always on the plane somewhere. So shout out to you, love. We miss you. Can't wait to have you back next week. And got some, you know, big announcements coming up as far as us moving to television. So you guys look forward to hearing more on that. Today we're going to be talking about relationships, asking the right questions, standards, such like. Should be an interesting conversation. Also, we'll be talking about Hazel E, but segue to the larger conversation of this light skin versus dark skin thing. And a world that's always just attacking just melanated skin. So definitely want to talk about that. And if we have time, we want to jump into that Dove commercial. You know, how do we feel about it? Was it really done wrong? Is it really a problem? Is it an issue? You know, we'll talk about that. And then today we have a special guest, Mitch Holmes. Excited to have this young man with us. He actually participated in our conversation with millennials at the Church of the Rock Praise Factory.
Yeah.
Had a lot of great input while he was there. We were thoroughly impressed. So we was like, man, got to have you on the show for the follow-up.
Appreciate that.
So, you know, way to represent yourself. And also, you know, Church of the Rock Praise Factory. That was big stuff. Mitch is a graduate of Pepperdine University with a bachelor's in computer science and design.
Yes, sir.
That's out there in Malibu, California, for those who are not familiar with Pepperdine.
If you've ever seen Zoe 101, my school is the school they filmed Zoe 101 on.
Oh, wow.
So if you're hip to that, you know what's going down,
That's
right?
And okay for the black man in STEM. Okay. Go
Yes,
forward.
yes, indeed. It's very important.
Yeah, and then also he's a DC native, and that's big up, right? Because you know, a lot of times in this city or any city across the nation, very few times you meet folks are they really even from there, you know, especially out here.
Yeah.
You know, and I think LA is becoming more and more like that. I know a lot of folks that live in LA, but I don't know if any of them are actually from LA. I think all my friends that I know that live out in LA or people I've even met that moved here from LA, they didn't start out in LA. Like they weren't born and raised there. So that's interesting. So yeah, a lot of these cities are becoming transient cities. So definitely cool to have a DC native. But I gotta ask the question, so who's your sports teams then?
That's fun. No. So basketball, I'm a Wizards fan.
Okay.
I also have some love for the Clippers because I fell in love with basketball at school. Pepperdine doesn't have a football team, and I lived with a lot of basketball players my sophomore year.
Okay, so that makes sense.
Supporting them, going to all of their games, and developed a love for basketball.
Cool.
So the Wizards are my team because I'm a home team kind of guy, DC native. But I got love for the Clippers. I currently am not supporting football financially.
Okay, like me too.
Yeah, so I'm on my strike. Originally, I've been a Ravens fan all my life because the first football game I ever saw was the Ravens Super Bowl.
Okay, like
and
my brother.
I was just like, yeah, these guys are the greatest guys I've ever seen in my life. And my ignorance of football just lived for years after, and I just watched us get spacked around. But I held through for the Ravens. Everything else, I'm a home team kind of guy. Nats, Caps. I love DC, man. I got to support the home team.
That's what's up. Big up. DC all day.
Yes, sir.
Right? But we got love for folks out there in Cleveland. They all right.
Yes, sir.
Wait a minute.
I got to shout out Cleveland. For those that don't know, our very own Katniss and Tay Jordan are also from Cleveland. Both from Cleveland. So you got to show love to Cleveland because that's 2/3 of the show.
Yes, sir.
So anyways, definitely, you know, that's dope. Of course, we want to go into how was your week. Katniss, we're going to start with you, love. How was your week?
My week was great, and I really want to give a special shout out to my great aunt. She called me today, and we were able to touch base. And my great aunt is about, I think she's 88 years old. Anyway, I'm shouting her out, and my week was great because I think a lot of times we don't keep in touch with our elderly. And whenever she calls, she always speaks life into me. She always talks about how God is going to provide, stay faithful, stay prayed up. It's always the same, and she just offers so much wisdom. So shout out to Aunt Mel. You actually made the beginning of my week great because of that conversation. So that's what I want to dedicate for my How Was My Week to my Aunt Mel.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Mitch, how was your week, sir?
I had an interesting week. I've been in a place in life where relationships are becoming more and more important to me. And to show you how important relationships are to me, if you're wondering why I'm wearing this very hot jacket, I went to church today, and My auntie got me. I don't know if you can see it, but that's all makeup right there, baby.
Oh, got it.
It's all makeup. So I sacrificed my shirt because it was in a moment of, you know what I mean? Let's hug. And I'm in a place where relationships are more important to me right now than material things. So that's a representation of that. And it was a good week because of that. I've been building my relationships and getting stronger.
That's what's up. That's what's up. And for me, you know, I'm Jay DeCosta. I'm the man of these streets. It's always easy breezy for me. Nothing ever gets the brother down.
You feel me?
So, yeah, you know, we made some transitions this week. That was good. And also, things always going well with the 9 to 5. I never complained there.
Never complained.
Word been on point at church.
Yes,
and then also, and I'm going to give a blessing to this later, but, you know, we had a great event on Friday. I'll talk more about that here in just a second. So, yeah, you know, it's been a great week.
Yeah.
Who can complain? And if you did, who would want to listen anyway, right?
Right.
So, yeah, so speak life. Shout out to Reed Temple. So, yeah, definitely want to. But, of course, you know, we got to do these to hell with. That's just something that we do on this show. And so I got to give it to hell with this White Lives Matter protest in Shelbyville, Tennessee. And there's been a lot of them popping out throughout the South. Now, here's the thing. I do feel like white lives matter. At the end of the day, we do know that all lives matter. We don't want to wish death or any kind of inconvenience on anybody just because of your race, creed, or color. However, in this country, white lives have been treated fairly okay, or if not beyond. When the Constitution was written, all of our Bill of Rights, everything, when it talks about how all men are created equal and we all have the right to the pursuit of happiness, those laws based off our history and how we've treated Native Americans, African Americans, Asians, Italians, or anybody with a little bit of melanin in their skin, recently Muslims and Mexicans, or anybody of a Latino background. We've seen that whites in general never have been ostracized like this. The most they could probably talk about is being overtaxed by the British back in the 1700s. Outside of that, they haven't dealt with that hardship that people of color deal with here in America. And they do operate with a sense of privilege because all these great laws that make this country great have been exclusive to those of pale skin. And we've seen that time and time again through redlining, our schools, everything. So I got to give it a hell with to White Lives Matter because when you make that protest, it's in direct response to Black Lives Matter, and that's because you haven't been educated on why we say Black Lives Matter. It doesn't to say that our lives supersede the lives of anyone else, but it is to say that there is an issue with how minority lives have been treated in this country and a direct reflection to police brutality, and how that's been going when you look at Tamir Rice, you have Eric Gardner, you have Mike Brown, Trayvon, so many deaths, so many different things that's happened, and we're at our breaking point, and we have to remind people like, look, our lives matter too. So, and I don't think they understand that, and they're doing prayers and everything, and it's
have you ever heard of the concept of white fragility?
I've heard a friend mention it.
Okay, it's an actual theory, so I'm just gonna drop that there.
Okay.
If you're listening, look up the term white fragility. We can talk about that at a later show because that's an interesting topic.
I think that was Steven that mentioned that before.
I think so too.
Sidebar.
Do you want to give us maybe a snippet of?
Yeah, a snippet.
Go ahead. Quick snippet.
No. A snippet of white fragility is because they aren't marginalized. They are less receptive to adversity.
Oh, well, Tim Wise went into that. He didn't use that term.
Right.
But he talked about, like, for the first time, because of all the economic pressure that America's been under, it first only affected people of color, but now it's starting to set home in middle of America where they weren't affected by the economy and the changing in our markets. So, yeah, and how jobs have been leaving. They've been leaving
Right.
since the 80s, but now they're starting to see it hurt their pocket for the first time.
Yeah, the
in
term
last
was
5
actually
years.
defined and coined in a study. I am being a bad student right now because I cannot remember the exact name of the study or the person who coined the term, but it is in a study, and it was in my diversity peer educators class at school. We learned about that term. So look it up. It's an actual term that's been theorized by a very intelligent individual. I'm sorry I'm forgetting the person's name, but if we ever do come back to it, I will be prepared for that subject.
But yeah,
That's what's up.
We'll touch on it another time.
For sure. And then also, but if, we always have to end it on a positive note, right?
Right.
Blessings too. And it's interesting because a theme across the panel seemed to have been family, and the blessings to today was really just towards good food and family. And seen a lot of that this week and spent a lot of time with family. Got to hang out with my cousin Liz. Shout out to my cousin Liz. We hung out with her last night. Her and her boyfriend had a really good time at one of the little terror trails. That was a workout. So, yeah, so that was really cool hanging out with my cousin Liz. Got to see a lot of family that showed up to our conversation with millennials at Church of the Rock Praise Factory. And also just want to say shout out to that. Blessings to that event. It's really important in our community that we start having this exchange of dialogue. There was a lot of great conversation, and it wasn't us versus them kind of thing. There was definitely an exchange of communication and understanding on both sides.
100%.
So, you know, the elders were just explaining to the young people, like, listen, we want to direct you guys a certain way. One, they don't want to see repeat mistakes. And at the same time, a lot of their caution comes from their wisdom. And then they're giving that wisdom out of love, not out of trying to hold you down or hold you back or supersede what you're trying to do in life. So I thought that was very important that we got that message. But then at the same time, a lot of the young people were able to exchange the ideas or some of the vigor that they have to want to go forward. And it was a great exchange. It was a great event. It was actually a great turnout. And we're looking forward to doing another one of those probably around January,
100%.
February.
Yeah,
Pastor Grant Thompson wants to have the Nitty Gritty back. So we're excited about being back there. And as a result, there's been some other churches that have reached out now that will be participating in like events on other subjects. So look forward to that information. If you're in the DMV area, you can come out to these events.
Yes, sir.
There's no cost. It's a good time, and you'll have fun.
Yep.
So, but right now, we're going to get down to the nitty gritty because that's what this show is all about.
Yes,
of
sir.
course, like I said, we're talking relationships. We're talking about Hazel E, to segue into Lightskin versus Darkskin. If we have time, we're going to the Dove commercial. I have a little video. Some of you guys might be familiar with Derek John. I hope I'm saying this last. Is that right, Kat? Is it John, Jaxn?
I thought they just called him Derek J.
Is it Derek J?
I thought so.
I know it's spelled Jaxn. So I'm hoping I'm saying it right. John. Seems like it would be John.
Jackson.
Jackson?
Jackson.
Jackson? All right.
It might be Jackson.
It might be
You
Jackson.
notice that cool thing now where
Yeah.
people are using different letters for stuff.
That makes
like
sense.
they're using
Jaxon.
sixes for B's
Yeah.
and
So
stuff.
Well,
like
it's
that.
it's Jaxn.
Jackson.
All right, maybe it is
It might
Jackson.
be.
I think he goes by though Derek J, but it might be Jackson. Yeah.
Got it. So yeah, I got a video from this brother. He gives a lot of information on relationships. I don't know if I agree with everything he says, or I don't know if I agree with maybe what that true motive may be. I don't think he's married, to my knowledge. So he has a lot to say about what sisters need, and he's very supportive of the sisters, which there's nothing wrong with being that. I just kind of wonder where the motive is coming from. That's all I'm saying. But outside of that, we're going to play this video, and then we're going to dive into relationships and all this standard and all that stuff. Should be fun.
Yeah.
Can you play that video for me, Jay?
Okay, so there's this meme floating around of this woman who makes $400,000 a year marrying a guy who makes $40,000 a year, and she upgrades his whole life. Now, for a viral internet meme, this is cool. Beautiful love story. But in real life, ladies, please don't make a habit of dating guys who don't make anywhere close to what you make, and this is why. Not necessarily about the money, but there should be some kind of fruit for his labor, especially if you come with a whole fruit basket. If he can't lead his own life, how he gonna lead a family? So again, let's put money aside, talk strictly in terms of fruits of labor. You meet a guy, nothing is going in his favor as far as his career goes, but yours is popping. So what do you think will be his #1 priority? I'll give you a hint. If you were starving and you saw somebody with a bucket of KFC, what will be your #1 priority? Getting some, right? Meanwhile, all you was missing was love, so that's your #1 priority. So you spend 2 years building on that, investing in him, trying to bring him to his full potential, just to be left with what? A ringless finger, stretch marks from the baby, and scrolling past pictures of him and his new model chick girlfriend who wouldn't check for him when he was broke. Does this mean that he ain't shit because his career ain't popping? Absolutely not. This just means it ain't time for a relationship with you yet, because once you fall in love, you're probably gonna end up carrying him. Now let's switch the context a bit. Let's say he doesn't make a lot of money because he's a community activist or a school teacher, yet you're a corporate exec, so you do. Is it okay to date him? I say yes. Because in that situation, his contribution is probably going to be more so intangible. The way he inspires you with his work ethic and his vision. Plus, he wasn't expecting a lot of money in his life, so he won't be using you for yours. You see, the difference with that is the man has already proven that he can make productive decisions in life, as opposed to thinking that all he has to do is provide bottomless dick and you do the rest. So simply making more to your man is not an issue, at least it shouldn't be. It's not a competition, it's teamwork, and somebody gonna score more points. As long as you both win, it's all good. But if you're LeBron James, you should be looking to win with somebody who's at least Dwayne Wade, not a water boy.
So that's Derek Jackson, John, there with his video. Had a lot to say. And I pulled some common themes I've seen on social media as far as what people are looking for. But before we get to that, I just want to get your opinion. I guess I'll start with the lady first. How do you feel about everything he said? I know you had commentary during the video.
Right.
So
I think he was on point.
Okay.
Okay. I'll go on the record and say I don't think your choice should, or the standard should be how much a man makes, because at the end of the day, I know a lot of men who make a lot of money, but if they're not necessarily holding you in value, contributing to the household both emotionally, spiritually, and financially, then it doesn't matter that he makes a lot of money. If he's not there to be a dad, then what does it matter? I think that you need to do what's best for you and not look at memes to tell you what to do for your relationship. But I will say, I do think that when you marry, many of us miss the aspect of marriage from a historical standpoint. Looking in the Bible, back in the day, it was a financial gain. Had nothing to do with love. Nowadays, in the 20th century, we always focus on marriage being about love. And in my opinion, that's wrong. People may get mad with me for this thought process, but marriage is a political decision. Barack could have had anybody, but he chose Michelle. He chose Michelle for a particular reason. He chose her because A, she taught him law, and he knew that because she was as smart as he was in law, if not better, more than likely Michelle was going to take him farther in his career. I believe that Michelle was behind Barack even having the vision to become America's first black president. And I'll leave my comment here. I think a lot of men mess up. We're thinking, you know what, I'm going to bring all the money to the house, so I'm going to just find me a bad shorty who going to look good on my arm. But then when things go awry and she's taking you to the bank, a lot of guys are crying and talk about, oh, she used me for child support, because you never thought about what is her vision. Those are conversations you should have during courting, from a man and from a woman. What is your vision? Where do you want to go? Where do you want to be in 5-10 years? You can't you can't date someone who looks good. Looks fade. But guess what? Money, team building, that's generational. You can pass that on generation after generation. And if you ain't got a partner, it's going to be really, really hard to climb up the ladder.
What's your thoughts, Mitch? I know you're a little younger, but at the same time, I know you have a feeling as to all this dating and relationship and all that.
No, 100%. I agree with you. I think the only part I disagree with in his statement is it's too broad for the case he made. I think, I think African-American women, or women period, should not be listening to men to tell them what they should be looking for in a man or anything like that. I think you have to learn yourself. And as cheesy and as corny and cliche as that sounds, when you know yourself, you know what you're looking for. You know what will work well with you, right? I think his point is, ladies, the potential of that man not being good for you because you make a lot of money, you have a hard work ethic. There is a high potential that individuals who do not make the same amount of money do not have the same work ethic. And I agree with him at that point. But the difficulty is how broad of an example he used, because if a woman is absolutely fine making all the money in a relationship and she's looking for a guy who's supporting her, and a guy is making $40,000 in a relationship, but he's the most supportive individual you've ever met in your life, that'll work.
It will work.
That'll work.
So, and I'm happy that you guys brought that up, because, and I wanted to use him because he's been used as a weapon, I've seen, typically from women, to disparage and talk down to men on Facebook, right? Normally it's an agenda, like a chick will post that, but you know she just got out of a relationship, right? So obviously it's targeted. Or you'll see men, there's a sister that's up there. I was trying to find one of her videos. She's like a light-skinned girl, long hair. She makes a lot of the same videos he makes, but talking about what women need to do and kind of like being a champion of men. But they do it from a way that is almost like they're discounting, you know, like he's discounting the men and then she's discounting women. And I don't know if that's necessarily constructive as well, right? So something I've seen on media, and some familiar faces have been on this show. They've been a part of this too, right? So I'm not calling anybody out because I've seen a lot of this, but just to kind of sum it up, what I typically see, what the needs or what the wants of black women seem to be on social media. So this is broad. Maybe they want all these things, or maybe they want pieces of it. You see a lot of, wants for 6-figure incomes. You got a whole lot of them that want the tall, dark, and handsome. There's a lot of them that say, I can't date anybody with kids. There's some of them like, yeah, he got to have swag, can't be too corny. Some of them want somebody with a look. They want them to be everything, right, but just have a little touch of thug in them. Not a whole lot, just a touch of thug, just to make sure he's thorough. Then there's a lot of sisters out there that's like, hey, just got to make sure that he loves Christ. But then at the same time, it's like they don't want him to love Christ too much in the event that he may question their morals. Well, or they want someone that will like be willing to help clean around the house or help cook. They want somebody who's going to support them in those duties. And then also I see a lot of women looking for someone who will take on her kids as well. And then sometimes, interesting enough, I'll see the person who wants someone to take on their kids and treat them like their own sometimes are the same people that don't want a man who has kids. So I always find that kind of interesting. Then I've seen men post about what they want, and sometimes it seems like the basic message, if you look at these memes and stuff, is like they want somewhat of a mixture of an exotic porn star, someone, but yet who is still a lady, even though they just the baddest chick in the club. And everybody know if they're just the baddest chick in the club, she's probably twerking, she's probably dressed in a very provocative way. It is not to say that that person can't be a lady, but the message that is received in the minds or the carnal subconscious of most men is she's easy or she out to give it up quick and stuff like that. That may not be what she's about, and you won't know until you have a conversation. But the billboard looks like it's saying one thing. It's like, hey, we got cars for $15,000. But then there's like a little small inscription. Unless you get close enough on it to find out, you don't know that there's other details that you need to see about applying for this car. Mm-hmm. So, but I think sometimes some of those women maybe not be conscious of the billboard. But anyways, I see that a lot of these men also, they want someone capable of being a mother. They want someone who has her own or kind of has their own. And then they definitely want the looks. They want the flat stomach with the standout curves. Y'all know what I mean, right? Also, they're looking for someone who looks like a lot of these brothers are posting about women they want to worship the ground they walk on. And what I mean by that is it seems like they have this common theme of, will allow him to go out to the strip club with the fellas, or you'll see guys post stuff about, having the ability to have side chicks just because they're at the top of their careers, or they're in high demand because maybe they fit a lot of these things that women are looking for. So they feel like because of that, I have the right, and the privilege to go do what I want because I have my pick of the litter. So I've seen a lot of kind of conflicting ideals here. I think a lot of them are kind of destructive because I don't really see a lot of someone's looking for someone they connect with intelligently. I don't really see a whole lot of people looking for some of the things you guys said about, commonality or background, stuff like that. So if y'all want to dig in a little bit more in there, because we don't see that conversation. I know, Kat, you touched on it, but I want to touch on it a little bit more. Why is it that these are the dominant things we're looking for, but we're not looking for the things that really make something work?
Well, I would bring it back to knowing yourself, right? I've been a big advocate of that message a lot as of recently because those ideals come from one of two places. It's either conditioning or experience. Mm-hmm. Now, if I ask you, why do you want a tall, dark, handsome man, and you tell me, I have no idea, I just want a tall, dark, handsome man, then that's conditioning. I would tell you, you probably need to do some self-searching, right? Mm-hmm. And figure out what your own preferences are, mm-hmm. and figure out a little bit more about why you like tall, dark-skinned men, because it could just be conditioning that somebody told you're supposed to go get a tall, dark-skinned man your whole life. Mm-hmm. On the flip side of that, is it experience? Maybe your father was the most integral man, or it doesn't have to be your father. Maybe a father figure in your life was the most integral man mm-hmm. in your life, and that conditioning set up a preference of strong men like that, and he was tall, dark, and handsome. You know what I'm saying? And partially Oedipus complex, but if that is the reason your preference is tall, dark, handsome men, then you know yourself. You know why you like tall, dark, handsome men. You have a reason to say why you like tall, dark, handsome men. You can go find you a tall, dark, handsome man. But if it's just due to conditioning and you're in this lossless state of I like things, but I have no idea why I like things, then you probably need to do some soul searching and figure out why you have such preferences.
I like that.
I think most of those preferences come from media.
Right.
I think media dictates what people like. So people, media dictates money. Everybody wants somebody that has money, but nobody's really willing to work and build together. For example, my mom and dad married age 19, 20. They've been married now for 38 years. They had absolutely nothing when they first got married.
For 38 years.
Yeah.
Too. Don't let that slide.
Nothing when they got married. But now, on the flip side, my dad, my dad's 60, my mom is in her late 50s. They've been able to build. They had 3 kids together, but they built together.
Right.
And I think that the problem is with media, everybody just wants a ball player. Everybody just wants an entertainer or somebody who has a whole bunch of money. But the problem is you're taking someone, sorry to say, but someone generally probably from poor conditions or lower socioeconomic class. So they never really learned about financial literacy, never really learned about a healthy relationship.
Right.
So now you're literally admiring him just because of his money, but there's really no game plan or any kind of conversation to talk about how to sustain this money. And the problem is because we prefer these preferences as a people, we don't really get anywhere. When you look at other people when they die, yes, they're sad, but it's also a celebration. Why? Because usually with death also comes inheritance. And in the Black community, you got people, posting, what's that thing on Facebook when people ask for money?
GoFundMe.
Yes,
Yep.
GoFundMe for
Crowdfunding.
funerals.
Yeah.
And I'm saying all this to say that when you date someone, there has to be intention behind it. There has to be purpose behind it. You have to see yourself together in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years. What do we want to give to our kids? Okay, how are we going to be able to get there? What kind of sacrifices do we need to make? There are a lot of women who I know who criticize a man for not having the job initially or criticize the man for not having the finance initially. But in the same token, the same breath, if we were to be the ones who were laid off from work or didn't have the finances initially, we would want that same grace to be extended to us. And I think the problem is that both men and women need to, whatever you expect from someone else, you should be able to provide that same expectation for yourself. And that is, to me, the problem. No one can meet their own personal standards, yet they want to go ahead and purport and place it on someone else. And that, to me, is the problem.
And I can agree with that. I've seen a lot of sisters say they want a brother making 6 figures, but yet and still you're working in retail, barely making 25. How do you figure yourself to be in the position to go after a brother that's making 6 figures and you're nowhere near close?
Because they look cute?
Because don't get me wrong, if you're going to be a helpmeet, if you're going to help me lift the table, that means you have to be as strong as me or stronger than me, right? So if you're going to help me lift whatever it is that I'm seeking to do in life, you have to come equipped to help me lift it. And if you're weaker, you can't help me lift the table. So why do you want to come and sit down at my table when you can't help me lift it? Because
the prerequisite in the media is not about being smart. It's about looking good. So they're the ones getting the lipo. They're the ones making sure all-star weekend. They got the big butt, fresh weave, fresh makeup. I'm about to bag a ball player because the prerequisite is that I look good. So a lot of women don't even have the unction or the even thought process of let me go out here and actually use my intelligence, because most ball players are not looking for someone who's going to help further their investment of their finances. They're looking for that trophy wife so everybody can, admire him for having the good-looking woman who paid for her body, but neither here nor there.
True. And then I want to ask the question, and I'll start with Mitch on this one. Do looks matter? And if they do matter, how much? Or to what extent should they matter?
That's a good question.
They matter a bit. They definitely matter.
Love the honesty.
I love the honesty.
No,
let's not act like, let's address the elephant in the room.
Right?
Yeah.
No, definitely. I agree with you. I think the center point is conditioning, right? When you don't know yourself and you have no idea why you have preferences, you walk the earth in a way that can potentially hurt people with no knowledge of how you're hurting people, right? But if you know yourself, see, this is the thing. There's nothing wrong with preferences. You have to know why you have a preference. You know what I'm saying? I myself like larger women. As of recently, have been able to say that because I battled with feeling like I needed to like what the media presents. I'm supposed to like small, short, thin women like that. You know what I mean? But as of recently, I've realized within myself, I'm not very much attracted to small women, right? But when you know your preferences, I know myself. I can operate above myself. I can give a thin woman a chance, right? I can give a short woman a chance. I can give a tall woman a chance because I know my preferences and I can operate above them. When you don't know your preferences, you can't operate above them. I need somebody that looks like this. You don't even know why you need him to look like that. So you're just going to be upset when you don't get that because you don't know why you want that.
And I'm happy you brought that up because I think a lot of brothers, and Kat, I want to get your opinion on this, is this something going on with the sisters as well? But I know with brothers, oftentimes, whether it's the frat or, maybe I guess people on your ball team or just coming up through college, there's this standard of what beauty should be. Mm-hmm. And that's such a broad conversation in itself, but we won't go there. Or we will kind of touch on it in a little bit. But there's this standard of what beauty should be. And then a lot of brothers find themselves attracted to women who aren't according to what everybody's scale is supposed to be. What's a dime piece? A dime piece in my mind ain't even that. But sometimes people get caught into, well, I got to have a chick that looks like the girl that was on Nelly's video or Snoop's video. And then that ends up being actually different, as you stated, from what you find yourself really looking at. So I think, attraction, I know to me looks do matter, but I know what I'm looking for in those kind of looks.
Right. And
they got to matter to you, and you can't worry about how the looks matter to those around you. It's about the beauty in your eyes. But, I think that's my thought process on there. I appreciate the brother bring that up. But Katniss, how do you feel about women? Like, is that something that you guys struggle with as well with the looks? Do you feel like it's a standard placed by the majority that the individual now has to feels like they have to,
I think women are more prone to date someone who they're not attracted to than men are. Here's why. A lot of women will date the guy that they're attracted to, and generally speaking, the guy that they're attracted to, a lot of women are attracted to, and generally that man is not committed to them, doesn't treat them right. But the brother that might be a little chunkier, might not be that good looking, maybe he's not good looking, but he has a great job, and he treats you right. Most women tend to say, you know what? Matter of fact, a lot of women when they're married, they're like, I really wasn't attracted to my husband. But through conversation, through experience, through intimacy, which we know intimacy can also be something outside of the physical, mm-hmm. I found myself growing to love him or growing to like him, because at the end of the day, love is not necessarily just a feeling. You can grow to love someone. And when they find out that the person that treats them best is not what their conditioned standard was for attraction, mm-hmm. they realize that this person is probably best for me, as opposed to being attracted to Mr. Fine, who is attracted and messing with everybody. I think men are the ones who are very strict with the looks department and tend not to bend as much as women do.
Yeah, I like that. Don't want to run out of time because I do want to jump into this other subject, but I want to touch on a couple other these too. So we kind of talked about money. So how about this past history thing? Is that how much does that should that matter, or in what? Well, it does matter, but I want to know, how do you feel like it matters? So, people who talk about folks who have kids or some sort of baggage, right?
Oh, okay.
Been divorced, or maybe they have a past, but that was them back in college. Maybe that's not them now. How do y'all feel about that subject? Because that's a big one that comes with dating, right?
It is a big one.
And like people get so stuck on what your past is, and then they'll miss out on, oh, great woman. Yeah, she has 2 kids and she was married, but you don't know why she's divorced now until once again you get up close and find out more. So do you think people are discounting folks too fast just because of what the statistics of that person is?
Yes and no. I want to go on the record here and state that, generally speaking, if you have the mindset to build with someone and build a future and build a finance, it's probably best to date someone that doesn't have kids. That's facts. Because then you guys can have the kids together, you can build together, you can plan your kids together. At the end of the day, kids are expensive. That is a fact. Now, with that being said, I think that if a man has kids or a woman has kids, I think depending upon your age range and depending upon your values, you shouldn't discount the person. For example, if I'm 22, no, my standard is not going to be that you have kids, because in my mind, at 22, I'm not expecting a man to have kids, because in my mind at that point, we're just finishing college. Hopefully we're at the start of our career, so I'm hoping I can meet someone without kids. But I'm 29 right now. I'm towards my tail end of my 30s. I'm not naive and silly enough to know that people have been married, have relationships, made mistakes, et cetera, along the way. So now that standard has changed, where it's like I'm not as what's the word? I'm not going to be as critical with someone who has kids. Now I'm going to be more open to that, because that's just a part of life. And more than likely, the people that I date, the further you go along in your age range, you're going to meet somebody that has kids. So that's a standard that might have to be relaxed a little bit. I will say this, and then I'll pass the mic, is that I think men have the ability to be more strict on that standard. And what I mean by saying that is if a man says, I don't want to date a woman without kids, I think he actually can get away with that standard because there are more women than there are men. And there are a lot of more women that I know of, at least black women, who don't have kids, who are successful. So you actually probably can get what you want, whereas women, not so much. I think that, as we know, with the jail, whatever, the quality of men is very... not as much as it is for men. The quality of men that are available to women, black women, single black women, are not as much. So you're going to have to be relaxed on certain standards, whether it's kids, whether it's money. You're going to have to really think about what you really want.
I like that. How about what you got for us, Nate?
I don't. Money's such an interesting thing, as it and preferences and relationships.
How about having kids or being divorced, that kind of stuff?
Yeah. I mean, all of it, like, I just bring it back to, I mean, we're on a journey, right? And I think one of the key parts that you pointed out is at 22, that's not a good time to be dating a man with kids. Like, you are very young in your journey. You're still learning about yourself. You're very new. Kids may be a lot for you to handle in a relationship, right? But at 29, as a much more mature woman who has financial stability and an understanding of life, you can accept men who have also been through a journey and understand that, hey, this is where they're at, right? But it would be difficult for you to accept a man who doesn't understand his own journey and is still making the same mistakes, right?
Yes, that's true.
So I bring it back to, you know what I mean? How well do you know yourself? The two people cannot really join together and become a better unit unless they know themselves really well. And when you know yourself really well, you can go out and do good things with other people.
I like that. And then I got one more, because I got to bring this one up, because this doesn't really come up much in the dating process, and a lot of people overlook it. But it's such a glaring thing that we should notice. But how about the importance of how they treat you versus how they treat others?
Ooh. Can I go into this one?
Go ahead.
If you're not familiar with what love languages are, you should look into them.
Gary Chapman.
Yeah.
I love languages.
I was fortunate at my school. I was a resident advisor, and in the resident advisor program, you guys might know them as, what do they call them at other schools? RAs?
Yeah, RAs, same thing.
RA. I was an RA, and in my school, it was very important for RAs to do a lot of self-reflection and a lot of self-finding, right? So they made us take this test on what your love language was, and it tested you to see what your preferences were, right? I found out physical touch was one of my biggest love languages.
Okay.
Right? I found out my girlfriend's biggest love language was quality time, right? To love someone and to be able to help them, you have to know them. You know what I'm saying? I think we walk around with these preferences that we don't know of, and our expectation is that people meet us at our preferences without an assumption that, hey, you got to meet somebody at their preference too. You know what I'm saying? Becoming, dating and becoming a union is work. It's building something together. You know what I'm saying? You're not building two houses right next to each other. You're building one house. You know what I'm saying?
Like
you can't let them be two different entities that just happen to cohabitate.
Yeah.
They have to work together, because those two houses, one could burn down and one could still be standing. You know what I'm saying? Or the other one could have something wrong with it. But when you build one house, it's significantly more stable, significantly more resilient to change and struggle. You know what I'm saying? So if the goal is to build a unit, the goal is to build something together, you'll be able to do that even with whatever preferences and loving people the way they are and that kind of thing.
And Kat, from you.
I want to say two things. One, my advice to America is put down your cell phone. Put down your cell phone. Stop looking at social media, which people only post the most positive things in their life, and not understanding what it really takes for a relationship. Relationships are work. Okay? You're going to have high times. You're going to have low times. There are going to be times where finances are going to be great. There are going to be times where finances are not going to be so great. There are going to be times where your body is going to change, and that person may not be as attractive as they were 10 years ago. There are going to be times where the kids are stressing you out, where life is stressing you out, and it's work. It's a commitment. But for whatever reason, we always glamorize relationships as though it's always good times, it's always a good feeling. This person never gets on my nerves. I'm always in love. I'm always attracted to them, and that's just not the case. So put your cell phones down. Learn basic communication, because that's what's going to get you through. Learn what you want. Learn yourself, and understand that if you're not willing to put in work, you probably shouldn't be on the market for dating, because 100%. That means you're not ready. The initial question was about
how they treat you versus
right.
how they treat others.
Okay, so with that, I want to say how they treat you is very important. But there's no way for you to even know if how they're treating you is acceptable if you don't even know self-love, or you have never seen a successful relationship. I've had plenty of people tell me, marriage is not real, it's fake, marriage doesn't work. I don't know any man that doesn't cheat. There are actually women who believe all men cheat, which to me is like crazy, because my father is a man. He has never cheated. I can stand on that. You're not going to argue with me. I know what I see at home. I say all this to say a part of the dating criteria should be actually assessing the background in which someone comes from.
Yep.
Because if someone comes from a broken family, you got to figure out, can this person can they change, or can they represent the love that I need from him or her, or to provide to my kids? Do we need to go to counseling? Because some people really and truly have never seen a standard of love that makes sense, or that's acceptable, to know what's right or wrong in treating somebody. You know what I mean? Hitting somebody in a relationship, unacceptable. Cussing somebody out and degrading them, unacceptable. Physical and mental abuse, unacceptable. And a lot of people do that. Like, if we're going to have a disagreement, you're not going to talk to me any old kind of way. And we're not going to have a shouting match. But that actually has to be a standard set that someone can meet and understand that I'm going to tell you my boundaries and say what is acceptable and what's not acceptable. And it starts from a young age.
100%.
I like that. That's really important. And I would definitely say when people are dealing with baggage from maybe what they've seen growing up, it's not even enough for that person to get the counseling before you get married. That person might not be suitable to date, because they need to be healed of that thing. Because if they're not healed of that thing, then they're going to bring that damage and those open wounds, not scars, but open wounds into a relationship. And it's really hard trying to heal that while engaged in a relationship already. That needs to happen on your own personal time.
Yeah, I love that analogy too, man. It's people out here applying for jobs and got no resume. You ever heard somebody try to apply for a job without a resume? You hear how stupid that sounds?
Exactly.
There's people out here putting themselves on the marketplace in this dating world. They don't know nothing about themselves or their preferences, and they hurting a lot of people, and that's dangerous.
Guess they got no resume. I like that one. I'm going to steal that one. Yeah. I'm stealing that automatically. But we got a little bit of time left, so we're going to jump into it. We don't have enough time to really jump into it, but we've talked about it before on the show. I'm going to play a clip, quick clip real quick for you guys from a movie that you guys know very well, School Days. This is because of the stuff that Hazel E said. She had a lot of negative things to say about dark-skinned women, calling them monkeys. Black. I can't even repeat the stuff she said. So, but yeah, very disrespectful to dark-skinned women. She tried to clean it up by showing that some of her family members are dark-skinned. But if you didn't feel that way, then shorty, you shouldn't have jumped out the window on Twitter and said all that crazy crap you said. So anyways, we're going to play a video. We're going to talk about this dark skin versus light skin for the next 5 minutes. And let's go.
The word is excuse me.
Nobody told you to stand in the hall either. Excuse me.
That's better, Miss Thing.
It's not real.
Say what?
You heard.
It ain't even real.
You wish you had hair like this.
Girl, you know you weren't even born with blue eyes.
That's right. Blue contact lenses.
They're just jealous.
Right.
Jealous.
Rachel, I've been watching you. Look at Julian. You're not slick.
If that was true, he wasn't much to look at.
Tell me, Rachel.
Pickaninny. Barbie doll. Hi, yellow heifer.
Tar baby. Wanna be white, jigaboo.
Don't start.
We're gonna finish it.
And, you know, we all laugh at this movie, man. Like, School Days. Spike Lee is a genius, by the way. He is under-celebrated in American pop culture.
Definitely.
And it's a shame. And I hope he gets his just due before he leaves this earth.
100%.
Right? But wanted to play this clip because, you know, some people almost looked at this issue like it was a new thing. But it's not a new thing. I think it's an exhausted thing. That at a time where our whole community is attacked, or all minorities for that matter, the fact that we would further divide ourselves within ourselves to care about how much melanin or the lack of melanin you have to cause divide between us. It's just not necessary in today's society. So I'll ask the sister first because you're natural. The brothers, we all think that's very beautiful, by the way.
Shouts out to you. Shouts out to you.
You got plenty of melanin. The brothers, we think that's very beautiful, by the way, as well.
We do.
Some brothers.
Yeah, that's true. Because there are some brothers that go online and say that they will not hook up with a dark-skinned sister.
Yes.
Which is crazy. But I want to get your opinion, though. I think you probably have one of the more valued opinions up here right now.
I think that the whole light skin, dark skin thing obviously stems from slavery. There was obviously some preferential treatment to those who looked closer to European features. I think it is a problem, and I think that when it comes to women, complexion is very touchy. I think for a man, you can be, people always say like, I like them dark, tall, dark, and handsome. But reality, when you get to the root of those dark skinned guys, a lot of them have low self-esteem, dark skinned men, because a lot of them aspire and go out of their way to date light skinned women because they don't want dark babies. They don't want a woman who looks like themselves or their mom. And I think it's really disheartening to know that we associate beauty based upon the complexion of our skin. I know some beautiful people who are chocolate. I don't think that the standard of beauty should be measured by your complexion. And I think that as Black people, we perpetuate this standard that, somebody got to be exotic. She look good if she mixed with Asian and Black. She look good if she mixed with Latino and Black. But if she's just a regular Black sister with kinky hair, she's kind of basic. She kind of average. Isn't that what you guys hear?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
100%. 100%.
Mitch, any thoughts about that? The dark skin? I mean, because I would call you a light skin.
Yeah, no, I would call myself a light skin brother too.
For you guys looking at the camera, by the way, let the record show I'm a little darker than this light skin
put
brother.
I'm
calm, man.
Really see.
I'm calm, man. Look at that.
You know what I'm saying? I got a little.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm a little darker, so I just wanted to put that out there. I'm silly, but no. So how do you feel though? Seriously.
It's an interesting topic because, skin color, like it's definitely conditioning from slavery, right? Mulattoes, like house N-words, you know what I mean? All of those things are definitely still prevalent in African American culture, and we hid those issues, but we haven't resolved them, which is why they're such exhausting topics, right? We won't fix it. We keep saying, oh, okay, that's fine, let's just move past it, and we don't actually move past it because we don't fix it. I think a lot of the people who see, again, I say there's nothing wrong with having preferences. There's nothing wrong with enjoying or thinking lighter complexion is beautiful or darker complexion is beautiful. But it's a manifestation of self-hate when you go out of your way to tell someone else something they have or is doing is not pleasing. You know what I mean? If I like dark-skinned women, I'm fine with liking dark-skinned women. I don't have to come out my mouth and tell light-skinned women, yeah, y'all not hitting it for me. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't need to do that. I like dark-skinned women. I know that about myself, right? But if I'm having trouble with my own skin color, like I struggle with this as a youth, being a light-skinned male and not feeling connected to African American culture because of that. I didn't feel Black, and I started looking at other cultures' women as beautiful, and I started sensing self-hate of African American women within myself. But because of my knowledge of myself, I was able to beat that perception because there's absolutely nothing wrong with light-skinned women. I just like dark-skinned women. There's not a problem with liking dark-skinned women. There's not a problem with having a preference. But when you go around ignorantly spreading your preferences for no reason, again, you cause a lot of harm.
I like that. That. Like sometimes it's all right to keep your preference to yourself. And I think sometimes, and I've seen it on Facebook,
business.
There are repeat offenders out there who go out their way to talk about their preferences. And, if that's just how you feel, then I think you can keep it to yourself. But I think when you go out your way to tell someone you ain't what I'm into, then I think it stops being a preference, and then it starts becoming like almost a form of prejudice or racism.
I want to say this quickly. I think that where you live, how you're conditioned, how you're brought up, what your parents instill in you plays a big part in self-confidence and debunking self-hate. And what I mean by that is that prior to coming to D.C., I can't say that I was fully confident in being flat out natural. I've been natural for a while, but it wasn't until I was here that I realized that being black was, you know, celebrated, being natural was okay. Whereas some women who, you know, are from like the Mississippis of the world, they probably don't have a arena where being black and being natural is celebrated, because in those kind of, you know, areas, you know, this is what's considered attractive, this is what's considered acceptable, and everything, you know, but themselves is what's considered better. And that would make you feel insecure about yourself, which is why Hazel E had those comments, because her mother was a dark-skinned woman who obviously did not resolve her own self-hate, her own insecurities. So she felt, if I raise a light-skinned child and tell her that she's better because of her looks, then that's what it is.
The other thing, if I can toss one more thing in really quickly, I think a lot of people go around believing that hate is the opposite of love. And I don't believe that. I believe hate is a manifestation of love. The opposite of love is indifference. Love is an intense care of something. The opposite of an intense care of something is not caring at all. But if you care, you're gonna feel hate. Hate is not the opposite of love. It is a very, very negative manifestation of love. So if you hate something, really ask yourself, is there something within you that you hate? And you need to really reflect on, hey, why am I going around spreading hate when I need to be going around spreading love?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I can rock with that. So, yeah, I mean, this has been a good conversation. Obviously, we always challenge our listeners, for all you right now on Facebook, Listen Vision Live, tuning in, continue the conversation. We always encourage you guys to hit us up. You know, we just had the forum on Friday, and it's definitely a big deal to have these conversations and communicate, and not yell, not debate, not argue, but communicate. So definitely want to challenge you guys to communicate. We got to wrap the show up. Mitch, thanks for coming on. Can you tell people where they can find you if you're on Facebook or Instagram?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook, Mitchell Holmes. You can find me on any other social media as Damn It Mitch. Maybe sometimes you guys will have me back so I can tell people why my name is that. But that's Damn It Mitch, DAMMIT, MITCH. Same thing on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff.
That's what's up. Kat, can you tell where they can find us?
Yes, you guys can follow The Nitty Gritty Show on Facebook and IG at The Nitty Gritty. And you can follow us on Twitter at Nitty Gritty _ TBJ.
That's what's up. So look, this has been another Nitty Gritty Show. It's your boy Jay DeCosta.
It's your girl Katniss.
And together we are
The
Nitty
Nitty
Gritty.
Gritty.
Tay, we miss you, boo. Can't wait to have you back again. We out.
Peace.